Let's check out food webs. We've already discussed food chains. Those show the transfer of food energy from one organism to the next in an ecosystem. In this simple food chain, the parsley plant's energy goes to the cricket when the cricket eats the parsley plant, and then the cricket's energy goes to the frog when the frog eats the cricket. A food chain shows one example of what eats what. When I look at the cards, I can see the cricket is not the only consumer eating the parsley plant. It says that swallowtail caterpillars also eat it. The frog's card says it eats beetles, cockroaches, crickets, houseflies, butterflies, and even bees, and it snacks on earthworms, snails, and pillbugs. Yum! Food chains only show us one example of the transfer of food energy in an ecosystem. People and most animals eat a variety of foods. You might know some animals that only eat one type of food. Koalas eat mainly eucalyptus leaves, and that is their primary diet. However, they are very rare in the animal world. Most consumers eat a variety of foods. Since food chains only show one example of what eats what, it would be great to do a food chain for a koala bear. But something like a frog or a cricket that eats a lot of different foods, it would be tough to see all of the things it eats. That's why we have something called a food web. Today we are going to use my dinner to discover what is a food web. My dinner tonight is from one of my favorite local Mexican restaurants, shrimp tacos. Yum! In looking closely at my dinner, I can see that I have rice, beans, tomatoes, corn chips, flour tortillas, red cabbage, and shrimp on my plate for dinner. We are going to discover the energy flow of my dinner. Let's start with our primary energy source, and that is the sun. First up on my plate is rice. Rice comes from a plant, so what happens is the sun's energy transfers to the rice, and then the rice's energy transfers to me when I eat it off my plate. Let's trace the energy for my black beans. The energy from the sun goes to the black beans because they are the edible seeds of the plant. And then the energy from those black beans are going to me when I eat it off my plate. It's tomato time! Tomatoes are producers, so they get their energy from the sun, and then that energy transfers to me when I eat those tomatoes. I'm starting to see a pattern here. It looks like we're adding a food chain every time we add a food item. That energy is going from the sun to my 3 producers, and then those producers' energy is going to me when I eat them. We are going to add another food chain for our corn chips. So corn chips do come from corn. Corn gets its energy from the sun, and then I get that energy when I eat that corn chip. Are you tracing that energy flow each time we add a food chain? We've got another one coming up. Next up is the flour. That is what my tortilla is made out of. Flour is made from wheat, and wheat comes from a producer, so it gets its energy from the sun, and then I get the energy from the wheat when I eat it. Let's check out that red cabbage now. That red cabbage is another producer that gets its energy from the sun that's transferred to me when I eat the red cabbage. So far, all of my foods have been producers. So we're going to go ahead and check out another food that is actually a consumer. Let's look at that shrimp now. The shrimp is actually part of more than one food chain. The shrimp gets its energy from eating, so it is a consumer. So we're going to start with the algae. Energy goes from the sun to the algae. The shrimp eats the algae, and then I get that energy when I eat the shrimp. Or that energy from the sun is going to the algae and a small fish eats the algae. And then the shrimp eats that fish and then I get that energy. So the shrimp is part of a food web too. Most producers and consumers are part of food webs because they are in multiple food chains. A food web is a group of food chains that overlap. When you look at any food web, you're going to be able to trace multiple food chains, which means we are tracing multiple ways energy is flowing from the sun to different organisms. We're going to look at a variety of food webs, but remember how we built this one food chain at a time. So when you study your food webs, you're going to be looking for those different food chains. You could even make a food web about your dinner. That's all for me. Take care. Peace.